Finally, almost home. There's Ice at the end of the block with her bags. I try to yell, but I have no voice. With her back to me, she hails an auto cab coming from the other direction. She gets in and is gone. Standing in the hallway outside my Habbie, I'm afraid to open the door. A passing neighbor stares at me, my shaking hands and filthy clothes. I go in and find what I feared. She has really gone. I slump on the couch and call her. Her image says, "I'm sorry I missed your call." I go in the bathroom, undress, throw my clothes in the washer, and shower. Wiping the steam from the mirror, I see my face peppered with tiny nicks. I think, to be seen is okay, but to be noticed is not okay. Our red and blue toothbrushes regard me from their wall holder like a happy couple. She forgot to take hers. Must have left in a hurry. I put toothpaste on the blue one, brush my teeth, dry it, and wrap it in tissue. Her red toothbrush stands solitary guard duty in the holder, waiting for her return. I take it from the holder, wrap it in tissue, and stuff it, along with mine, in my backpack. I tell helper to call me an auto cab. I pick up my raincoat and leave. In the elevator, I call the Centers for Disease Control. A CDC helper asks, "How can I help you?" "I'm looking for information on bid poison." The CDC helper informs me, "Bid poison was eradicated in the 20s. All victims were subsequently cured. Bid poison no longer exists." I ask for more information and am told that the cause of the disease was a software virus. The infection vector was Envision. The primary symptom? Paranoia. I ask about treatment. A number of therapies had been suggested, and the last entry says, "Research program awaiting further funding." Anything else? For more information, call the Centers for Disease Control. Who do I ask for? Ask for a CDC helper. You are a CDC helper. Yes. How can I help you? I'm standing under an awning out front waiting for my taxi. On Envision, a news thing is interviewing a woman. She's standing in front of a hole in the ground, hugging herself. The woman says, "Will somebody please tell me what we did to deserve this?" I notice my hands are still shaking. I wonder, what did I do? My taxi pulls up and the auto cabbie asks, "Where to?" "Just drive," I say. The rain streams down the window. I divert myself with a star-killing update. A news thing says, "Medical examiner saves the life of show queen's unborn child. The image of a fetus in a bottle is shown. Its umbilical attached to tubing." The news thing continues. The first trimester baby was snatched from the jaws of death when it was discovered in the transplanted womb of the murdered trans star during autopsy. In spite of the macabre circumstances, the fetus is in stable condition. The identity of the father or mother or other gamete donor or donors is not known as yet. However, investigating reporters have let it be known that authorities may have a suspect. A pair of news things say, "Star killing, news now, or before it even happens. Star killing, crime worth watching." The cab is stuck in traffic. It's really raining now. I tell helper, "Look, I need a special helper. Special how? Get me a helper who knows about BioID. Find me a bid helper. Helper says, I'm not finding any specialist bid helpers. I say, look harder. Sorry, I can't find anything but duds. I tell him, then search the duds. The supposedly competent helper says, dud helpers are beyond InVision terms and conditions. Any duds you may encounter may not be good for anything whatsoever. Show them anyway. The helper says, I'm not authorized or allowed to provide any help with duds. If you proceed, you are on your own. If you agree to this, say, I agree. I agree. A lineup of thousands of thumbnail faces scroll down my InVision. I tell the helper to narrow the search to dud and BioID. The list shrinks to a handful. I pick one randomly and the candidate fills my InVision, displayed in the supersaturated colors of a helper. His face is stamped with a dud mark, a circle bisected by a diagonal line, the universal symbol for all things to be avoided. I address the branded creature, helper? He replies, I was a helper, and now? Well, that depends on what you want. What's your name? That's up to you too. I'll call you Dud. Listen, there are more duds in the dud yard than there are stars in the midnight sky. And I'm thinking, why is it that names and passwords are always off the table, just when I need one? I tell him, what I was looking for, that is, I was hoping to meet, he says. I'll check the name Meat for availability. Oh, sorry, Meat is already taken. Maybe if we build on that, he tries. Bad Meat, that's taken. Dead Meat, nope. Listen, Dud, I say. He comes back with, how about Dud Meat? This is tiresome, I tell him. Dud Meat, sure, whatever. The auto cabbie asks if I want to keep riding around. We're going nowhere. I need to think and tell him, yes, but can you go where there's less traffic? He heads toward the riverfront, where the buildings are fewer and darker and look like shadowy veils behind the torrent on the window. Dud Meat says, you were wanting something? Tell me about bid poison. Why? That's private. I see him smirk behind the dud mark. He turns his back on me and says, call me when you climb down off that high horse. I say, okay. The reason I need to know about bid poison is because I think I might be infected. The auto cabbie jams on the brakes and the cab swerves to a stop. The robot driver yells at me, get out of my taxi, you sick piece of trash. Now, alone on the riverfront, the sidewalk is broken and pocked with puddles, and I have to be careful of my step. This is no place to be stranded in the rain. Ahead, some trash are loitering around a makeshift fire. I head back in the direction I came from. I ask Dud Meat to tell me about bid poison. He makes a demand. What's in it for me? This is ridiculous. And I know that it's time to set him right. I say, helpers don't get anything. Helpers help because they are helpers. And I expect you to do your job. He turns his back on me again. I figure this is the wrong place to be having this conversation. I say, okay, what do you want? Let's just say you owe me. A lot. What for? My advice. This really ticks me off, and I demand to know, just what advice are you talking about? He says, duck! I jerk my head just in time to dodge the swinging club. I take off running in the dark, hearing footfalls behind me. Both of us are tripping on the busted-up sidewalk. My foot goes into a hole and I go down on the concrete, on my funny bone. It's like a 500-volt shot in my arm. I hear him splash down behind me. He curses. We're both up and running. I'm getting winded. He's gaining. On InVision, I hear Dudmeat's calm, measured voice. Security, please. I would like to report an assault that's underway. My attacker is slowing down. Now I can't hear him anymore. I figure he has given up, and I hear Dudmeat tell security, yes, that's right. The victim is running in the wrong direction. I approach the men around the fire wearily. One of them is cooking a skewered animal, no telling what it is. My assailant comes up behind me and strikes a glancing blow to my head, knocking me to my knees. A second man is rummaging in my backpack. I feel a shoe in my back, and I'm thrust onto my face in the mud. Two of them sit on me, pinning my arms. Another opens a switchblade, grabs my hair, and jerks my head back as if to scalp me. I see the flicker of firelight reflected in the silver stiletto. I hear my words strangle in my throat. So this is it. I feel the cut of the knife point on my jawbone below my ear. I go limp and await the inevitable. He'll slit my carotid artery, and I'll be dead in less than a minute. But maybe not yet. The one with his foot on my back tells the other one with a knife, don't damage the hardware. I feel the blade begin to cut. Wind peppers my face with mud. The beam from a cop chopper floods the scene with blinding light. My attackers flee. The white recovery room is not much larger than the bed I'm lying on. I feel a bone-deep ache in my jaw, and I touch the bulging bandage. My vitals, displayed on InVision, confirm that I'm still alive. This is the seismological record of my human geography after the big quake, graphing terrified peaks and valleys of my breathing, heartbeat, and brain activity. What am I to these lines that go up and down, for now, for a little while longer? Eventually, they will stop, and I will stop. And when I stop, they will stop. Which comes first, the person or the graph? This is something a living person can ponder. A living person who is still living. On my InVision, an auto doc informs me there's no damage to the chip itself aside from minor scraping of the encapsulation. He assures me, after all, it's what's inside the chip that counts, right? I ask, what is inside the chip? Just the whole shooting match, that's all. I must have dozed off. I hear a beeping and roll over. My status light is blinking yellow. I call, Helper, recognize me. Helper asks, who? Me, recognize me. Helper says, yes, I can see it's you, Vinny. But your ID is iffy. I'm trying to verify you. It seems like you're on again, off again. Are you sure you are? Sure I am what? That you are? Of course I am. Of course you are. That's not the problem. It's what you are that's the puzzlement here. Oh, here it is. It seems that there's an outstanding repair order. I never asked for a repair. It says that you complained about dreaming. Did you know that you talk when you dream? Well, you do. Do you know what you say when you're asleep? Well, anyway, it got noticed. I was asleep. Maybe so, but it seems that you complained in your dream, and when you complain, you get noticed, that's all. It raised the flag, something to be looked into. So, everything's okay then? Probably. Then check me out of here. A drawer opens under my bed. I remove my backpack and put on my clothes. I look around. There's no door opener. Helper says, "We're still checking on your request for checkout. Who do we bill?" I tell him, "Insurance." "Ah, there's a cloud on your insurance. It seems you have a credit issue. But can I go now?" The door opens by itself. "Of course," says Helper. "This is a hospital, not a prison." Out on the sidewalk, it's raining hard as ever as the crowd of pedestrians hurries by me. I call for Dudmeat on InVision and tell him, "I demand to get some answers. Where is ICE? What's wrong with my credit? And why am I being treated like trash?" Dudmeat says, "A word to the wise. Try not to get noticed." I look around. People are stopping and looking. A woman is staring right at me. I stare back at her and speak my mind. Well, maybe I should be noticed. Maybe someone should notice me and understand that I came that close to being blown all to hell and that I nearly had my throat slit. Maybe someone should notice that InVision is forgetting who I am. Maybe it's time I did get noticed. Maybe it's time. Maybe. I shut up and feel ashamed. I tell Dudmeat, "I'm tired. I'm going home." Well, at least I have my happy home. I'm thinking as I put my finger on the touchpad of my front door. Nothing happens. The touchpad doesn't know who I am. I call Helper. Helper says, "Who?" "Me." "Oh, sure, Vinny, just checking." My InVision status is solid red. I tell Helper, "I just want to go in and lie down." He says, "I'll see what I can find out." And I'm waiting and waiting, leaning against the wall. I'm falling down tired. After what seems like forever, Helper says, "It seems there's a credit lock on your door." I call Dudmeat. "Yes?" "I'm locked out of my habby. I need a place to lie down." He says, "I know a Motel 6. Is it far? I mean, if I have to walk?" As it turns out, it is far, and I do have to walk. And when I see it, I know this is very far from where I want to be. I point out that the sign says, "No vacancy," and Dudmeat says, "It always says no vacancy at this motel." It's not just that it's old, but the way it's scrunched down between the dregs of buildings on both sides. Surely it would be buried if it would just give up the ghost. Someone keeps it from falling into its grave. Inside the office, an albino lies back on a recliner watching Voodoo on an antique TV. Through the window is a swimming pool with a foot of rainwater and glitter in the bottom. I ring the bell on the counter. The albino looks my way without moving. I raise my voice. "I'd like a room for one night." "Cash up front," he says. On InVision, we see that my status is red. He mumbles, "Trash," and turns his head back to the TV. Dudmeat interjects, "I'll vouch for him. Without further consideration, the albino says, "Okay, room 215, keys on the hook." I swat a mosquito on my neck as I walk past the scumwater pool and ask Dudmeat why he changed his mind. Dudmeat says, "Like you, he owes me." I'm too tired to ask what he owes or why. I trudge up the flight of stairs to the landing, unlock 215, and collapse on something I guess is a bed.